Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, Atlas Thugged, aka White Boy D Voice, aka another racially ambiguous groiper. And I'm here to tell you that Jesus loves you and Christ is King, among many other unfortunate things. And it was a pleasure seeing you guys in chat earlier, just before the show went live, seeing you guys, all the comments. You guys are cracking me up. Yes, Larry Loomer is the insinuation that Laura Loomer is a man. I find that harder and harder to believe that she's a woman as the days grow along. And speaking of Laura Loomer, that's the one person who I desperately would seek to mute or block to not see on my feed anymore. But then you would also lose the lead Jew who's kind of giving you the plans ahead of time. So it's kind of what do you do, right? do you block her in hopes that you see the screenshots from somebody else's account, or do you bite the bullet and you suffer. You suffer it. And yeah, appreciate seeing all of the Albanian flags. That's lovely. Yes, this is seemingly going to be the theme from here on out. I might even buy one. I might even buy one. One thing I meant to mention like 3 shows ago, and yes, I'm calling out Tix Bomber if he is here. Heard somebody was talking some trash about sleeveless hoodies. And I want Tix Bomber to know that I personally purchased 10 more, and I will be. No, I'm just messing up. I did see somebody say that, but I love sleeveless hoodies, man. That's like my favorite, most comfortable wear. I have like 20 of them, or like 3 of them, something like that. Who knows? But appreciate everybody coming in and being here. We have a good bit to get into today. A lot that's going to kind of take a few steps away from the Iran war. We're going to be still paying attention to some what's coming out of that. We're paying attention still to Joe Kent continuing his media circuit. I think, if anything, the most notable thing that happened today was JD Vance's take from this cabinet meeting. I believe it was a cabinet meeting. But JD Vance is now pushing very similar to, I guess you could say, any former neocon, but he pushed the sentiment, no joke, that this idea that perhaps Iran would start wheeling out nuclear suicide vests. And he was essentially echoing the sentiment from Trump and the forward-facing position of the administration, that is, we cannot allow Iran to have nuclear weapons. And so it was off the back of this that JD Vance also was basically echoing what Trump and the administration's kind of seemingly position is, and that definitely is their position on the surface. Ostensibly, that also extends to this idea that there is, we want regime change as well. And I think we've kind of pulled back a little bit from that. And so, been some crazy pieces with that. But JD Vance is not even just sitting on the fence. I commented this earlier on an X post. He is dancing on the fence. And people are asking, what is the object on the thumbnail? Yes, that is why the episode today is called Whiteface. If anybody missed it, Druski, the popular comedian, if not probably the most popular comedian out right now, he had a skit making fun of, now it's captioned something like how conservative women in America act, but is most clearly a push and shot at Erika Kirk. And it's about a 2-minute skit. We'll watch it. I have it ready to go. The thumbnail is literally, that is Druski in the thumbnail. For those who didn't see it, that's literally Druski in the thumbnail. That is what his makeup and art effects team was capable of putting together. And it is terrifying. But we hear it offensively accurate. We are Charlie Kirk. I saw Become Numas comment on that. It's hilarious. Do people say that unironically? I thought it was just a joke from the song. I didn't know people like unironically were saying that, you know, like you know, not in the sense of like you don't say it valiantly. We say it in the sense of like that's how the left looks at you. You know, you are kind of similar to Charlie Kirk, you know, from the same Hyde video. But I don't know. Maybe I don't run around too many mega crowd individuals anymore these days, if you will. And speaking of, that's another big news piece actually today, which I didn't have in the outline, but I will mention it, is the fact that Joe Rogan with Dave Smith, I do believe, were very publicly just railing on MAGA. And I believe one of the comments coming from Joe Rogan essentially, and I only saw this because Nick had commented on it, but Joe Rogan basically called everybody who's still in MAGA a bunch of idiots. They're literally just a bunch of idiots. And that's beautiful. I love it. Keep going. I don't even care who's saying it now. Just attack MAGA, attack Republicans. They need to feel it. And but appreciate everybody who's rolling in now. We have a couple other things we're going to get to in the overview before we kind of dive deep into this. But again, you know, Joe Kent, he had a couple pieces. The media circuit moving along here, though, is with the Sean Ryan show. So if anybody missed this, Joe Kent, I believe, on the same day that he actually did the interview with Mark Levin, earlier that day did an interview on Sean Ryan show's podcast. But it wasn't aired, I think, until earlier this morning. At least that's not when I saw the clip start rolling in. And he said a couple very peculiar things. One of them actually is in reference to the pending ground invasion. And so I guess to zoom out a little bit, that's kind of what we're all expecting to happen by the weekend or Friday night. I mean, it may happen a minute after the markets close, given the way that given the way that our administration has been prosecuting this war so far, trying to maintain the rhetoric to avoid the markets having any kind of real reflection of what's actually going on. But Joe Kent said that if he was Iran, that he would just let the Americans, let them come over, let them land, let them dock. And we'll take a bit of a look at that. We'll play the clip here later on to get his idea of why he's thinking this. Why does he think that's Iran's strategy? And it seems to make a little bit of sense. But in reference to the Sean Ryan show, one of the other things that was mentioned by him inside of this, we'll get into it a little bit later, but Joe Kent again provides defense for JD Vance, and it's very specific, and it was very specific directed towards Mark Levin and I believe Ted Cruz. But Joe Kent says something to the effect of, well, you know, Trump wasn't listening to Vice President Vance. Trump wasn't listening, you know, to our circle. He was listening to his smaller circle, and then he was pointing out people like Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin and Ted Cruz as that's who Trump was more so listening to in terms of the direction for the Iran war, which actually is the complete opposite of what the New York Times published in their How Trump Decided to Go to War article, which actually heavily placed emphasis on JD Vance's argumentation being the reason why we have gotten into the position we are in. So again, a lot of lying, a lot of just nonsense. Another big story that came out earlier today was that Trump had said negotiations are going great, they're going well, which is an obvious lie. And if you've not gotten that together so far, just understand that all the talks about negotiations are purely an attempt to blind those who aren't reading news, who aren't listening to things, and just the market in general, to avoid the panic of the reality that there is no negotiations on the table and they're very far apart. But one of the extensions of this lie actually came out earlier from Donald Trump. And what he said was, he said that Iran gifted them like 8 big oil tankers as a sign of their willingness to negotiate. And it was like an hour or 2 hours later that the Bloomberg tanker tracker, which is, I guess, tracking all of the movement in and out of the Strait of Hormuz, which I don't know what boomers sit and watch that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. But regardless, the Bloomberg tracker came out and said there's literally no evidence at all that 8 or 10, and I don't know if it's 8 or 10. He said 8 at first, but then 2 joined them. Who knows if it's 8 or 10, but they said there's no evidence that these ships made it through. There's no evidence that any of these oil tankers, if anything, there was 2, but none of it makes any sense. And so obviously they even added, I believe Bloomberg even added specifically a quotation inside of there that said something to the effect of, if this was true, you would imagine both sides would be publicly bragging about it, as they would have both of their reasons to brag for such. And alas, none of that's there. So more lying, more of this kind of, I guess, blatant corruption at this point from the Donald Trump administration. And I think many people have kind of moved to this point. Nick said it. Owen Schroyer has said it. Maybe I would add to that as well too, which is this idea that yeah, maybe perhaps this is the most corrupt administration in our lifetimes. I think you also need to add in a couple of things in there, which is the market manipulation and this idea that perhaps there are advisors and some, or maybe some of these inside staffers who are either getting information leaked to them or just close enough to hear it that are making a lot of these big deals on the market. And so, again, you know, whatever everybody people feel about that, regardless, the Iran war is this huge, a major botch job so far. And before we get into everything, a couple announcements. We'll get right into the show. Big thank you to, again, the sponsor, NAV Metallurgy. He is here in chat, I do believe. Hopefully you guys can read it. Am I holding it the right way this time? I think this is the right way. Yeah, NAV Metallurgy. I've been showing the light box off lately. They do have more, obviously. They have more that they can custom print and make. This is still one of the coins with the keychain still inside of the nice packaging they got there. This is the offensively accurate coin, forgive me. So it's offensively accurate on the back, and it's a Jerusalem cross. So thank you to them for being a sponsor of this show. Appreciate it greatly. And again, you can probably see it at the bottom left corner here. The buymeacoffee.com is actually fully integrated into the stream. I wanted to get that available for those who wanted to support even during the show as well. So I'll just show you, I can send a test alert right now just to show you guys. It'll be very similar to what you see from Nick as well. And this is kind of a way to get around the having to pay the tax to Google or YouTube, or for all of those people and individuals who are locked out for whatever reason. I know many of you have said that, you know, you have to give your digital ID to YouTube to be able to send a super chat. So I made sure to add that to get around for anybody who wanted to super chat essentially through there as well too. So a lot to get into. Druski, I didn't speak too much about it, but we're definitely going to watch the Druski video as well too. We'll go through there as well. And Candace Owens also attacked Nick Shirley, which was surprising to me, and I wasn't expecting that. But a lot to get into. We might run long, but let's get started.
Straight through, offensively accurate, that's the view.
So many of you perhaps caught this morning, or maybe you caught this last night. Is it a little loud? I'll turn it down. But many of you may have caught this, but it was late last night. I think it was around 11 p.m., if not a little bit later. But the official White House account started vague posting. I kid you not. And I think many people were just very confused of like what was going on. There was 2 videos that were posted. The first one was like a weird, seemingly like, you know, mistake video. Like, you know, when you accidentally are like carrying your phone in an awkward way and you accidentally record 2 seconds of the ground. That seemingly was the first one that was released. This one specifically was, you know, is it going to launch soon? And it said sound on, and it was a really weird video. I kind of had like a little bit of a Snapchat effect to it almost. But they were vague posting. And so the first one gave a lot of people a lot of fears. Many people were immediately in the aftermath going, is this like this is all a new? Because this is what they're warning about. And so many people were immediately like just trying to figure out what this was. And but when they followed it up, it was a bit more clear what they were actually doing. And so they followed up with the second post. And so we'll take a look at both of these for those who haven't seen this so far. Just so everybody has an idea of what we're talking about here. But here is the first one. We have this from Raw's Alerts, is the first person I saw it from today. But they say, breaking, the official White House account has now deleted its initial video, which teased launching soon and included a quote sound on caption showing a downward view of a woman's shoes, leaving many people confused. And it's like 4 seconds long, if that. Like I said, it looks like it has the Snapchat kind of caption on there.
Cool. It's launching soon, right?
And so the way it kind of comes across, you can kind of get it's launching soon, or you can, sometimes I was hearing it on repeat last night because I was trying to make sense of it. You can also make out nukes launching soon. And so it's kind of, what is this, right? And it's like obviously purposely vague and confusing. Many people probably thought perhaps this was a leaker trying to get something out, or were very fearful of it. But no, I was a bit taken aback at first, unsure what was actually happening. But then I saw the second one, and then it became very, very, very obvious that the only people that MAGA have left to signal to are the schizo Q-tards that remain left in MAGA. And so this is what I mean by that. This next video is clearly like showing a symbol of like a false flag. It flashes again with another beep there, similar to what you had seen. But if you stop at one of these frames here, it is specifically a American flag in a downward position. And so to me, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a, yeah, never forget Raw Lurch is a gay furry. Never forget that. Which is still mind blowing that anything even like that even happens. Anyway, that's a crazy side point. And for anybody who didn't know, there you go. More news for you. The more you know. But I saw a video earlier from somebody, and I have to agree with them. I don't know who the guy's actual name is. Forgive me. But I mean, that's the only thing I can really honestly tell you. That's kind of the point that I got away from it. It does seem to be like a whistle, really, to the schizos who are left in the base. And I think you could kind of pull this away, too, from some of the previous kind of comments being left along. And I think, Agent Poso, right, one of the most glowing individuals in the space, he says it all the time, right? Patriots are in control. And it's been a minute since I paid attention to like the Q stuff and the Q conspiracy and all of that. But if you were asking me, that speaks to like the White House is trying to do this, like, that's what they're on, right? This is like, that's all who's left in the base is like these people who believe there's like this 90D chess happening, and Donald Trump is like meeting with the Imperial Galactic Chancellor of the universe, and they're like having like this back and forth game where Trump is like, I know what I'll do, like I'll do all this, nonsense for Jews, and that somehow saves America. And people are like, yeah, that's actually what's going on. It's literally insane. It's like, I would rather listen to Alex Jones than someone who believes in that stuff. And that's not even a dig on Alex. I just, I'm just a little removed from Alex Jones anymore. But I do think Alex is pushing a bit of good. But that's what I think of this. I think the vague posting was intentional. I think it is no sign of anything actually happening. I think if anything, it provides a bit of a distraction. I think also you have to think of perhaps this was a signal to Iran, maybe even more so than the base, maybe 2 and 1, maybe both. But I think there's really nothing to it. I think this is more of this kind of, as Nick said, it's like a kind of a LARP. This seems to be like that this pretentious kind of military prowess kind of push. I think really the main pull from this was trying to like, hone in on the Winter Soldier element of all the Q-tards who like hear something like, Patriots in control, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're like, dude, Trump has it. So I'm not one of those individuals, never have been, and don't buy it at all. I really don't think it's anything to really pay attention to, the White House vague posting. But here is actually one of the main stories I wanted to talk about today, and that is actually this meeting. Per AF Post, they gave a bit of some of the leaked details of the cabinet meeting. We also do have it playing. We have the video of it as well, too. And so we'll see this. I'll put it up on screen for you. And so this is one of the main points I want to pay attention to is just this opening paragraph here. That Vice President JD Vance claimed that Iran's conventional military has been effectively destroyed. And we know that is not true. Now, there may be elements to this of their air defense systems and other things being, decapitated and also being dysfunctional and not available. But the fact that they are holding the Strait of Hormuz and then they have no conventional army is just nonsense. This is more just rhetoric again. And if anything, it is just echoing Trump. That is what Vance is doing. He is echoing Trump. Because again, the idea here of what Vance is looking at, what Vance's top priority is running for president. That's Vance's top priority. I am under no other belief or suspicion at all that JD Vance cares about literally anything else right now beyond becoming president at a later date. And I think his presidential chances per polling market reached the lowest they've been in a long time, which was around 18%. And I think the last time we had looked at it, Marco Rubio was actually rivaling him at either 17 or 19%. He might have actually overtaken him a little bit. And that's just to be the Republican nominee, I believe, not even just who will be president, actually. And, well, why is this, right? Why is he not going full force against Trump right now, right? You would think that would sell well, it would do well. Yes, it would for the people. It would for, the libertarians and the center-right crowd and for many of the plan trusters and all the individuals, even some Wignats would fall in line with that too. But the problem remains that JD Vance has almost literally no financial backing. The donors don't have his back. The donors want Rubio. So JD Vance is actually still having to placate the MAGA, the financial backbone of MAGA. And so this is why he's having to dance on this fence here, why he can't go full send with Kent, why he can't go full send with Tucker, is because he still needs to placate the financial backing and the network that supported Trump. And as long as JD can maintain, and this was actually kind of a bit of his leverage here, as long as JD can maintain being the front runner, and if they fail in their attempts to get Rubio to do anything in the primary, well, what will happen is then JD will possess the top chances going in, against Gavin Newsom. And so if you were asking me, this is obviously JD Vance trying to dance the dance between both of these parties and maintain the best spirits and the top support from both of them for as long as he can, to maintain this broad support, some level of a broad support network as he continues and goes on to his campaign from 2027 through 2028. And that will be his leverage, actually, against like the network, is that if he's seen as a top candidate, he's seen as coming out of this, which again, that's many, it's years away. We still have the Iran war going on, but this is, again, hypothetical, what he's looking at, what obviously his career is too. And for many of these individuals, that's also playing into their decision making. The same thing with Joe Kent. With Joe Kent having this expectation that he's going to get a big role in the JD Vance administration. The same thing applies for David Sachs as well too. So their careers aren't over in 2028. Many of these individuals will be looking to establish themselves much further on, getting promotions, just climbing the ladder, right, one rung at a time. So a lot of this is forward looking to potential future partners, and whoever may not be your ally today perhaps would be your ally in the future. And so these are all, again, go into this kind of deep-rooted thinking in the strategizing. And you have to look at it as well too, right? Like Vance in particular is someone who has had his eyes on the presidency for the last over a decade now. Very specifically is been someone who has built himself to be a chameleon, to be whatever he needs to be able to be the president. Right, this is a former never-Trumper who's now vice president for Trump. Right, he is willing to sacrifice or do whatever move it is required to get himself and his guys in the administration. And so I think that's part of what you always have to keep in mind when you're looking at anything related to JD Vance. Now, specifically, what is he talking about today? Well, the clip of the meeting today is one, again, echoing Trump and backing again, less so even not just Trump, but the administration position of not allowing Iran to pursue a nuke, which is, again, where Trump has always been in on this, which is, you can even go back and refer to like Charlie Kirk, when Charlie Kirk would talk about how Trump would be the only president who would be able to manage, on one hand, never allowing Iran to get a nuclear weapon, but also promising no new wars. And he was like, I think Kirk had this famous saying that if anyone could do it, Trump could do it. And so obviously this has been a long-standing thing here. But I put this on screen here. This is from Michael Tracy. And this is, again, the supposed leader of the Restraint Caucus. And just listen to the rhetoric coming from him. And so one thing that can't be missed as well, this is another element of the JD Vance kind of, escape hatch he's trying to send himself down, right? This channel he finds himself in right now, is that he is being, again, as Michael Tracy puts here, this Restraint Caucus, which rather loosely is probably a decent way to kind of talk about the network of Kent and Carlson and Tulsi Gabbard and David Sachs and Peter Thiel. And all the reporting that we get that keeps getting dropped off that surrounds JD by these friendly entities, or that JD was like, he's hesitant. He's the voice of reason for the war. He's trying to, non-interventionist, right? He's aligned with Tulsi, and it's all bullshit. I mean, it literally is like, it's nonsense. We know it's nonsense. And here's further proof of it being more nonsense. And so listen to the Dick Cheney-esque, retelling of like what the American position is, but also very specifically the fact that he even entertains this idea that they're going to begin giving, or we're going to have nuclear suicide bombers. It's kind of insane, to be honest, but here's the clip.
But look, the Iranian conventional military is effectively destroyed. They don't have a navy. They don't have the ability to hit us like they could have even a few weeks ago. And what that does is that gives us options, Mr. President. Now, there's been a lot of reporting about diplomatic options, about negotiations. There's, of course, Pete and his team. There are further military options. But what we have now that we didn't have when the president took over just a little over a year ago is the ability to use every tool at our disposal to ensure that Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon. Because when I say options, I think it's important the American people know options for what? And it's options to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. You talk about people who walk into a crowded supermarket and have a vest on, and they blow up the vest and a couple of people get killed, and that's a terrible tragedy. What happens when what's on the vest is not something that can kill a couple of people, but can kill many, many tens of thousands of people? That is the most important American national security objective that exists for any administration at any time, is you don't want the worst people in the world to have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president is doing this. That's why the president cares so much about this particular issue.
Time is not on our side.
So Michael Tracy just cuts over to, Dick Cheney basically saying something similar. And just, I mean, insane. I'm going to be honest with you. It is insane to push, for one, that again, the Iranians are just these inherent bad people. To also push again that like the next step is that they're going to be having nuclear suicide vest. And furthermore, that he's supposedly the voice of reason, coming off as Dick Cheney, further pressing that like we cannot allow these bad people to have these specific weapons. At the same time, every other story you see being pushed by all of the people who are in Vance's camp is how he's like he's the sole reason, like he's pushing back against the Iran war so hard. What are we even talking about? And again, all of this is, it omits the reality, which is they had a religious fatwa against pursuing nuclear weapons. And part of the reason you ask is, well, why? Thank you for the gift. That's awesome. Thank you, World Champion. I appreciate that. Massive W's in chat for World Champion. Thank you very much, brother. And it just doesn't make any sense. And it's funny because what you have also at the same time, literally at the same time as Joe Kent, who's in the camp of JD Vance as well, is also talking about how the religious fatwa was to not pursue nuclear weapons, but also talks about how Iran is literally not retarded. And so Iran, looking at the previous elements, and this is also mentioned in his Tucker Carlson interview, but seeing all the previous times they did pursue these other leaders in countries that had, weapons of mass destruction. And so even if you don't have them and refuse completely outright, you lose. You can even try to fight back and say that you do have them and you lose. And so seemingly Iran what they've been doing is they've been like riding the middle. They haven't developed any nuclear weapons, but they maintain their ability to enrich uranium because they saw what happens last time. Again, possessing a deterrent. And this is, again, goes into like the Iranian strategy just wholeheartedly, which is they are just built with deterrence all around. That is what their strategy has essentially been, and in effect to thwart something like this. And it's just rather unfortunate to hear our leaders quantify these individuals as, inherently bad people when we literally disintegrated like 200 of their schoolgirls, right? And so where's that story? Where's our Catholic president, our Catholic vice president, JD Vance, to speak a word on that? He did, actually. He said, I hope all the soldiers have a good Easter weekend or something to that effect. So it's never Vance. It's never JD Vance. Vance cannot be allowed to win, period, at all. That is going to be very specifically, I think, something to pay attention to. And we're going to continue to monitor the JD Vance situation, if you will, as he continues to try to wriggle and squirm to maintain his, political expedience and ability to run for president. And so if we move on away from Vance a little bit, we'll get into Kent after we cover a bit of what's coming from Trump. But right now, Iran has literally no plans to negotiate with the United States. No plans at all to negotiate with the United States at this time. And this is how the way they would leave it. And there was a report earlier today that came out that Israel had actually planned and was set to assassinate Iran's foreign minister, seemingly their final one, the last remaining minister, Abbas Aragchi, or Aragchi. I think I'm always saying it wrong. And but it was Pakistani intelligence that warned the United States against it. They stepped in and they cautioned. They said, listen, if you let Israel kill this guy, you will literally have no one else to communicate with. No one else will be willing to communicate with you. This is like actually the last person. And so if you get rid of him, it's over. I mean, that's off the table. You're not going to be able to negotiate with anybody, like at all. And then, as I mentioned earlier, that's when you get Trump disclosing, this morning that, Iran gifted us big boats of oil. And, he even asked Steve Witkoff, do I have the permission to reveal this? That he's still roping in. He's like, yeah, see, Witkoff, he's still doing his thing. Like, and meanwhile, everybody knows Witkoff's probably twiddling his thumbs in the office somewhere. as all of his calls go to like, all of his calls to Motabi, ring, ring, go straight to voicemail, and then nobody's picking up. It's insane. And like I said, the Bloomberg, the tanker tracking showed no evidence of these 8 or 10 boats Trump spoke of. And they added, and I have the direct quote right here. They said, if this was some great present, you would think that both sides would want it known for their own reasons. And then additionally to that, Trump did get mad at a reporter, particularly this reporter, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, for their coverage of the war, saying that if he was desperate, Pete Hegseth would be the first to know. And so it seems like he's actually getting irritated at the coverage of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. But a story that I didn't cover that happened earlier in the week, or maybe it happened even last week, was there was a report that came out from Ken Klippenstein, I believe, where he was leaked from either military officials or Pentagon officials that they are really clamping down on the exact verbiage usage of what is occurring during the war. And so one of the things that he had sent me was an example, or not sent me, but he had been sent, forgive me, well, from Ken, was there's an example, and it was like, the building was completely destroyed, right? It was like the missile struck here, the roof collapsed, and the building was completely destroyed. And it was like, that's wrong. What you should actually say is this satellite image shows a caved-in roof of a military facility, as in like omit any of its functionality. Don't talk about its functionality. You can talk about missile strikes, but you can't say if they were effective or not, right? And so it's very strong kind of censorship being pushed upon these individuals who are covering the war. And that's from Ken Klippenstein. That was a report that I got from him. And we have a couple of other deeper stories we'll get into beyond that are kind of separate from the Iran war. But I did want to make sure we covered, again, Joe Kent specifically. Let me grab this. For some reason, it's not where I need it to be. And this is the specific clip, actually. And so I would play it, but it's Sean Ryan. And on top of Sean Ryan, it has got music behind it, which is literally the most annoying thing possible because it will immediately copyright me. But in this clip, and you can search it yourself, I'll pull it up. And here's the kicker, too, because Sean Ryan posted this one himself. So I thought that was actually noteworthy as well. So Sean Ryan literally posted this one himself. So this gives me even more sign. And part of the reason is, too, is like, well, where's Sean Ryan come from? CIA, right? He was in the CIA for a myriad of years. I think he was over a decade, actually, if not even longer than that, right? He was a contractor, not an agent, but at the same time, it's like, do we look at Eric Prince as like being any less of an agent or a Fed because of, his technical positioning with the CIA and otherwise? No, we don't. And so I think Sean Ryan falls in that same boat, and that's kind of what connects them, right? Tucker, CIA. Father, CIA. Joe Kent, CIA. Right? Sean Ryan, CIA. And then who are all these guys? And Joe Kent's going on this media circuit tour of all these guys' just shows. And so I think that's something to definitely pay attention to. But specifically in this clip, and I'll put it on screen for you guys to see, it's this one specifically. It's this 52-second one. You can see Sean Ryan posted it himself. I would play it, but the music is here. Oh, here we go. We can play it because it's got the captions. That's actually perfect. That helps me actually a lot. I'm going to turn the sound off because I don't want to get copyright struck. But you'll see it himself. I mean, he literally is taking blame away from JD Vance by saying that Trump wasn't listening to him. He was listening to these other guys. It's clear.
Do I need to read your bio again?
Why is he taking advice from Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and whoever else? And then you got a guy like you in there with tons of experience in war and intelligence. And he says there's more of this and give him much better advice. Who are some people that would give you better advice? Vice President, Tulsi Gabbard and their teams. Okay, so that's like the main point I wanted to show you. So here's Joe Kent. Again, what is he doing? He's providing cover for JD Vance. He's very specifically like, if only Trump was listening to JD Vance. But I'm sorry. And also thank you for the membership chat. A watcher for 6 months. Thank you. That's awesome. Appreciate you, AR champion. But that doesn't make any sense because the New York Times literally said, now, granted, you could say the New York Times just made it up, right? New York, you could say that, but I am more inclined to believe, it's rough, it's hard to believe any of this shit, but I am more inclined to believe the New York Times in this current, in oppositional structure, than I'm willing to trust anybody from the administration. That's at least where I am. Now, it might be marginal, but again, in the New York Times, it says otherwise. The New York Times says no. The Iran war happened because of the arguments given by JD Vance. No, we got into the Iran war because JD Vance argued. Remember, go big and go fast, right? It was the big thumbnail I used like a week or two ago. That was the exact verbiage used by JD Vance. Now all of a sudden, Joe Kent's saying like he's not listening to him at all. And they're both parties are actually trying to use to their advantage the fact that there are two simultaneous inner circles, right? And so they've both spoken to this. Now, what's this one circle? Well, one of these circles is Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Kent and Scott Bessent and JD Vance. That's supposedly one circle. And that's the circle that keeps getting left in Washington. While Trump and his cronies, that's the way they're telling it, Trump and his other inner circle is going to Mar-a-Lago, right? And this would be Rubio and Miller. And they're going to Florida in the Florida Situation Room. And so they're kind of both using it to their advantage, where Laura Loomer and Mark Levin argue Kent and Vance and Tulsi Gabbard, they're not even in these briefings. They're being kept out. While Kent and Vance are saying like, they're not listening to us. You know, we're being kept out or we're being separated. But like, again, as I looked into it, it's like, this is typical during a time of war. They keep the president and the vice president separate. I don't know if it's the same kind of breakdown of like other officials or if like they just kind of assign them randomly. Whether that's like typical in a time of war, you don't keep your entire cabinet concentrated. That's commonsensical. But both are lying about it to use it to their advantage of like, you know, to tell their side of the story. It's pretty intriguing that both of them are lying to you. And again, that specific element that's being pushed by Joe Kent is that Trump needs to listen to Vance. And that post wasn't clipped by some random guy, wasn't clipped by Dom Lucre, wasn't clipped by, you know, AF Post or whatever. It was literally clipped and posted by Sean Ryan himself. Now, you could say it's somebody from Sean Ryan's team, but regardless, it was posted on Sean Ryan's account. Why? Why is that the one that was being pushed by Sean Ryan? Interesting. And beyond there, though, there was another clip that Joe Kent was involved with, where he was talking with, I believe his name's like some Daniel Davis, I believe, someone I'm not too familiar with at all. I think the show is literally called Daniel Davis Deep Dive. And this will be the last kind of bit we cover about Joe Kent here. But Joe Kent talks about this pending ground invasion, which if you listen to anything that's Fox News or any of the administration officials, it's just, you literally have no idea what's going on. But if you pay attention to Nick or, you know, anyone with the pulse, like even Troyer, you can include Alex Jones in there too. Like, okay, well, it's very clear and obvious, like we are getting ready to mount a very serious ground invasion. And it may actually be a bit bigger than what was initially led on. Massive super chat. Thank you greatly. Forgive me, I didn't have the overlay turned on. I totally forgot about that. I guess I'm an idiot. Let me fix that real quick. I can. It was the NAV logo I moved. That's why that happened. So thank you for becoming members. Thank you for the gifted and thank you for the super chat. Caleb Camarillo says they are glowing. Got me feeling like King Terry. Thank you for the big super chat, brother. I appreciate it. And they all are glowing. Every single one of them are glowing. And I think if anything, what this really is, and like I'd spoken at length about yesterday, is this is a bit of the factional warfare. Neither really care about you. Neither of them really care or really want the will of the people for you. Both groups, though, are vying for their control, for their leverage over the administration to do what they want to do. And so, I mean, if you were following, you know, Vance and Little Tech, that also ropes in as well, like Elon Musk, right? The PayPal mafia. And you could also see that Elon Musk was recently getting active. I think it was Elon Musk had offered to pay, you know, for the TSA agents who are not working, you know, and ICE is having to fulfill the gaps there. So it's clear that there is movement occurring with this network. Now, I think anybody who has followed Elon Musk knows that is Elon Musk like this base, like Christian, like American, like, no, dude, like not even close. But he is one of the top guys inside of this left-wing network. And I think Musk is someone to pay attention to as well, particularly with their connections with JD Vance, as well as everyone else that is involved in this little tech mafia, if you will. But again, thank you for the super chat, brother. Uncle Hal says Republicans in the House are splitting from Trump on the $200 billion supplemental request and putting boots on the ground per Zero Hedge. That's interesting, and I hope that is the case. I've really only seen one particularly vocal person from the typical establishment group. And, you know, Lauren Boebert said publicly that she doesn't want boots on the ground. I think Thomas Massey's obviously spoken about that. But it was actually Nancy Mace, of all people. Nancy Mace had come out from some of these briefings lately and said, you know, it's sounding drastically what the American people are saying are getting, their news is drastically different than what's being told in these briefings, in these different meetings and hearings. So let's hope so. You can really honestly only, pray for it, to be honest with you. But I think it's kind of, what are we going to do about this, right? And I think if anything, that they can stop the 200 billion, right, to that pushes it. But at the same time, if we eliminate the if we eliminate our ability to maintain an escalation ladder with attrition, I mean, what happens, right? I mean, like that almost kind of like works backwards against us. I think of it from the framework of if they eliminate the ability for the Pentagon to continue pushing the war, right? $2 billion a day, or it's something like $1.9 billion a day. And thank you again for the memberships. That's hilarious. This is one of my IRL really good friends. That's from Rect Roman. That's awesome. Appreciate you, brother. And yeah, shout out to Rect Roman. This is somebody who you guys might see in the coming weeks or so with some of the streaming. As I mentioned previously, Alice Thug TV is coming along, and we'll be getting some drop-off content from there that's separate from the political, and that'll definitely be, you definitely may see him in the future, actually. That's pretty awesome. Thank you very much for the 5 gifted, man. I appreciate it. But forgive me, I guess even if you look at that if you remove the $200 billion from the Pentagon, that they are not allowed to no longer continue funding the war at the rate they would like to, my immediate thought goes to the fear of what would they do then if all of a sudden their lengthened timeline was removed. I mean, does this now put much more escalatory? Will this cause urgency? Would this cause rushed decisions? It's a rough position, and obviously this is me not defending giving the 200 billion to continue the war, but it's with the mindset at the same time that, again, you have to understand that Trump has maintained, to a looser degree than the rest of them, that this isn't even a war, that it's a military operation, or it's an incursion, or it's like something to that effect. Because if they admit that it's a war and they didn't get congressional approval for it, well, obviously this is another among the several, forgive me, that he's already racked up of impeachable offenses. And I think he had even spoken to that the other day. He said something and he kind of walked it back as well. And I thought that was actually hilarious. It was actually cracking me up to see him. They tell me, he said something, he's like, they tell me it's not a war, I can't say it's a war, so we call it a military operation. So I do have fears immediately that go into this element of, does this entertain tactical nuke? Would they rush a ground invasion? What would come from that? Or would it force us into a bad exit? And I say that with the idea being that this government is clearly going to do whatever they want to do for Israel, regardless of what people and others are, trying to push back. And Daryl Sherm says, you're tied with Nick for having the greatest show of all time. Much appreciated, my brother. I appreciate that truly, but I can't even accept it, because I get my opinions from Nick. You know what I mean? Like I might be a little bit older. I'm like 2 or 3 years older than him. Appalachian Goy became a member. Appreciate that greatly. I don't know if he left a message or not, but thank you for that, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you. And but I'm a creation of, right. I'm in the Fuentes. No, I'm not in the Fuentes network. I didn't even apply to the to the intern thing just because I guess I want to maintain some level of independence, to be honest with you. I would. And like I said before, anybody, if the America First Initiative hears this, or America First HQ, I literally have no problem. Clip my content, take it, do whatever. I literally have no problem with that. If you want help for an intro or anything like that, editing skills, I'm cool with that. I'll help too. And I'll do it for free, to be honest with you. And that's how much I really care about it. Pushing for the mission. But going back to Joe Kent, and again, thank you, Roman. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you, man. It's actually good to see some more of my actual IRL friends actually in here. Because I'm like toxic material, right? If I was actually public all the time with how I really felt about everything, I would just be nuclear material. I could be sent to Iran. I would be the weapon from Iran. They'd be like, that's a nuke, right? That's a nuclear weapon here. But I appreciate it, man. And as I was saying, though, going back to Joe Kent and this final piece I wanted to cover on Joe Kent specifically, as he's doing the ring, the media circuit, well, he also goes on Daniel Davis's deep dive. And it's in Daniel Davis's deep dive that he says something to the effect that if I'm Iran, I would let them land. because again, they're not operating off of Trump administration rhetoric. They're operating off of what they actually see. And what we actually see is that there is an impending, ground invasion about to occur, right? A mixture of both the 2,500 amphibious Marines that were sent ahead of time, the 82nd Airborne that is set to arrive, I believe, at some point today, if not in the nighttime, or Friday evening, forgive me, not today. So here's this clip here from this. And so now Joe Ken is pushing this idea that what perhaps may await these individuals, what may perhaps await the Marines in Iran, is an extremely deadly trap. And this is something that we talked about previously, which is you may have been able to bomb the absolute life out of all the air defense systems that exist on Clark Island and the surrounding islands, and you may have even also eliminated transportation depots, forgive me, and also eliminated airfield capabilities, right, with infrastructure, landing zones, blowing up the strip, making it so it's difficult to even land a plane at all. But that doesn't also get rid of things like booby traps, mines, IEDs, potential just, lying in wait, other ground forces as well. And we're seeing them mobilize ground forces too. But here's this clip, and I want to, I'll play this one in full here. But again, this is Joe Kent kind of giving his kind of overall take here of like, what is he thinking from Iran with the pending, American ground invasion? So here it is.
I like to look at things through my enemy's eyes. And so if I'm Iran right now, a gift would be having Marines and paratroopers descend or take the beaches of any one of these islands. I don't care which one it is. I would let them come in. And then I would make it very, very clear that but through the use of mining, through the use of ballistic missiles, through the use of drone swarms, they are now our hostages. So this would be a strategic disaster. Honestly, I think if the Iranians are smart, and they are smart, that they would let us take the island. They'd let us do a victory video about how now we control the refining and this is checkmate and the straits are open. And then I would just show them very, very quickly and strongly that they don't actually control the space. I'd use the drones, use the ballistics that we know that they have on hand, or even more of a disaster is us committing troops to actually like the beaches, the land on the shores of the Straits of Hormuz inside of Iran. Because again, what they've learned for the last 20 plus years is that when we get sucked into these land engagements, all they have to do is win by not losing.
And that's the key point here, right? As long as the escalation ladder is not the United States escalation ladder of nuclear warfare, it still remains that Iran holds a little bit of dominance here, holds a little bit of leverage, because obviously there's a billion reasons why we would not want to go nuke Iran, right? There's a bunch of reasons why. But again, in a all-out war scenario, that's what's on the table. United States still owns like the final, win button, the win condition. Clip volume is like twice that of my mic. Oh, I apologize. But again, this idea here really, which is this letting this be a trap. And now Ken is putting forward this idea that perhaps Iran has thought about this. Maybe this is perhaps why it feels so easy to go and go sit on Clark Island, why they've not seen much other mobilization near and around the spot. Perhaps this is exactly what they want. They want to lure troops there. And what they'll do is actually not in any sense of, by winning the war by any means, but what they would do is exactly what Tix just said there, don't need to win, just got to make it too expensive to continue. But too expensive in that context, if you're holding military Marines and the 82nd Airborne essentially hostage, right? You're threatening other vehicles that would be able to come and extract them, get them out of the area or move, and you limit them, you hold them hostage. Well, now the American public has to deal with the story that thousands of Americans are stranded and being bombed, and the only way for us to get around that is either to fall to what some of their concessions, what Iran wants from these plans, or what you have running in the media 24/7 is you have just American soldiers just dying, being stuck. Or what do they do? On the other hand, they escalate. And the United States says, we were not going to allow you to hold our people hostage. And then they send in even more of a ground invasion, even more of a, into the meat grinder, or perhaps this incurs an aggressive strike, leading up to and including nuclear warfare, which I do think is still on the table. I would imagine it would be in a much more tactical sense, less so than it would be again, the all-out war sense where they just start dropping them like they did Hiroshima and just letting the whole country go to waste. I wouldn't imagine that. And again, a lot of this has been kind of forecasted to us the way they want to maintain it not escalating by the fact of even earlier today, Trump gave another 10-day extension to the energy infrastructure, right? And so one of these other concessions given by Trump is that he won't target the energy infrastructure of Iran for now another 10 days. And why do they not want to target the energy infrastructure? Well, it's for all the reasons we've talked about last couple episodes, but it's mainly because that is a decades-long process, not even decades long, but that is a multi-year long process to rebuild the rigs and the refineries and get the fields up to par and get the oil to the pure levels that they need, and to reset up the processing systems, rehire the people, like all of it. There's a lot that goes into that. So you bomb that, that puts a permanent constriction, or not a permanent, but a long-term constriction on global energy and global oil. And so again, a lot of this I think is being forecasted to us, but I will go back to the clip here. We had a little bit left to finish up with, and hopefully the clip volume sounds better this time. I apologize.
We will eventually bleed out blood and treasure, and we will get sick of the equation, and we will simply leave. So this would be a golden gift to the Iranians, and I pray that President Trump is smart enough not to fall for this trap, regardless of who's in his ear. Nancy Mace and other representatives coming out, Republican representatives coming out and expressing their skepticism of this. That gives me some hope, because all these guys are on the ballot here come November, and they know they're going to hear from their voters on this issue. So I think people calling their senators and calling their congressmen in particular, because they're all on the ballot in November, and telling them that we do not support this, I think that's going to be crucial. Now,
So again, Joe Kent, right? Joe Kent has been pushing pretty heavily, and I think, his rhetoric sounds wonderful. It sounds great, obviously. But again, as we've been talking about, the question is why? Why now? Why multiple weeks in do you do this? And it's all clearly a lie. Someone's lying, if not everybody's lying at this point. The fog of war. And they increased the draft age. It was from 34 years of age to 42 years of age, and they also moved the waiver requirement for the marijuana conviction as well too. So I think the only options left now to not go, I think you'd have to become a felon, right? Which I would not recommend at all. Or you can get certain tattoos on your body, and these certain tattoos will also prevent you from being able to get in. Yeah, the enlistment, right? Yeah, not the draft age. Forgive me. But again, what's the thing? Nothing ever. People said nothing ever happens, and then Ukraine started drafting 75-year-olds, right? And now their whole war. And I got to be honest, one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my entire life was supposedly, now again, who knows what's true anymore, but there was a report coming out from a Ukrainian soldier who had died, and they had his phone, and this phone was still intact for whatever reason. And what they showed on the phone was like all of his recent Google searches was like, Trump negotiations is like, peace deal incoming. And it was just kind of sad, because it's like, this guy's probably looking at news sources, like hoping, like, is the war almost over? Like, am I going to die out here? Which is sad. And, take that for what it is. Who knows if it's, if it's true or not. And it's funny. The amount of digital Baghdad bombs is crazy. That's funny. I mean, if you want to go love Jews, there's you can go watch Laura Loomer. You can go watch Mark Levin. You can go watch The Daily Wire. Like, if you want to see people lick the taint of Israel over and over again, it is, where you could, it's a harder time to find it not. That's funny. Anyways, so moving on to some of the more domestic stuff, that's kind of it for the Iran war, kind of the updates there. I want to kind of take a break from a bit of the serious stuff. We'll get into maybe a bit more of what's happening on the domestic side in the thumbnail piece here, the thumbnail picture. Yeah, there is no Laura, only Larry. That's funny. And this would be that Druski did one of the funniest comedic skits, forgive me, that I've seen in a long time. And I'm not, when I see a black person doing whiteface, I don't care, right? Like, I literally don't care. And I really hate that the first thing somebody says when they see it on the other way is they're like, well, like, what if a white person did blackface? Like, how'd that matter? Like, how about you, if you want to do blackface, like, just do it and like not care. But the people who do it, they don't do it. They're too afraid because they're cowards and like they're going to get canceled or whatever. But it's like, maybe just like don't care, right? Like, if you really want to do blackface, like, here's the thing, I don't care either. Like, I'm not going to be offended by blackface. I'm not offended by whiteface. Maybe just like don't be a bitch, right? Like, just don't be a raging coward about it and go, well, if I did it, well, the thing is, it's that you won't do it because you're afraid. It doesn't really matter. And if anything, it would go away if you just did it and didn't care. right? Like Lily Gaddis did it the other day. Now, granted, like me being able to do it and put it on YouTube, that's a whole different story. I get that portion of it. But like, if you really want to do it, then do it. Post it on X. Yeah, to Justin Trudeau. Who was the last one? I think it was Lily Gaddis. It was Lily Gaddis was one of the last ones who had done the blackface, I believe. And she was pretty aggressive with it, to be honest with you. But here's Juicy's Erika Kirk skit. Now he says, again, he says, how conservative women act. It's obviously Erika Kirk. We'll go to this. Let me get rid of some of these tabs here before my computer blows up. Put this on screen here for you. It says, bro, his costume design and makeup team is terrifying. That is funny. And that's the image I use in the thumbnail. This one right here, if you guys see this. This is literally terrifying. And if anything, Druski's probably got a very similar makeup and effects team than Speed, similar to Speed. I know when Speed did his reverse Flash, or it was that what it was? He did some kind of comic book character that like made these massive traps for him that looked very realistic. It was pretty cool. I thought it was funny. And let's get it here. Let's go. Here's the video. We'll pull it down. I've not watched it in full so far. This will be the first time watching it in full for me. I've seen the beginning, but just from the like literally the opening frame, it's like, you know, it's about to be good. So here it is. Let's take a listen. Let me turn the volume down. I'll move it up.
Get on your feet, boy!
War is raging in Iran.
We're praying,
accurate?
we're praying for all the soldiers and troops.
That's great that you're praying, but
How about all the kids that died when the USA hit the towers?
It broke my heart. That is the
In what ways have you grown closer to Jesus?
I serve a righteous God. And that is why we say our prayers.
The eye
We are
staring is
all his
perfect.
children.
I have to admit, this is like literally terrifying. It's close to like uncanny vibes, right? Yeah, thank you, Donnie. But it's also like just so grotesque. It's also like it just like it also you remember that we are different people, right? You know, when a white person puts on blackface, you can't really tell it as much. But when a black person puts on the white face, you literally are like, holy crap. You're like, that doesn't look right, right? Like the way their features and their skull shape is like, there's something not right about it, right? And so if anything, he looks more like an albino black guy than he does Erika Kirk, right? Yeah, the nose, very specifically the nose, also like the jaw as well. Some of the facial structure and the forehead too. It's like even if I've never even seen a chubby like white person that looks like this. You know what I mean? Like this is like this is a different beast. This is so are you the same beast but a different animal? Yeah, that's what this is right here. And yeah, staring into the camera is hilarious, but it does look like Gorlock, that big chick from the whatever, and that's like what, a male to female transitioner.
But when I say children, I mean like the holy blessed Trinity, which is why I hold the Bible.
That's actually fair. Chris Rex says, bro, you're from Ohio. Is at every Walmart? And you are so right. And even do even one better. For anybody who's in Ohio who's ever been to a Love's gas station, you have seen one of these before. Don't lie. You know you have. I know you looked the other way, and I know you thought nothing of it, but you probably saw this and was wondering, like, what is this like dark, trembling memory I have? Like, why are my hands shaking? And it's like, oh yeah, dude, that was the lizard at the lot. That's the lot lizard.
Sweet cream foam chai ice matcha. And Bella will have
Dude,
all organic.
Can't stand little dogs.
Organic? Yes, everything organic.
That's funny. Left walking funny. Fight or flight inducing.
3,
I gotta be honest, like nothing has really been like that offensive so far, right? Like it's not like they've really even gone so far. It's just this is how most people like view Erika Kirk, you know, who aren't under the spell of MAGA or TPUSA.
7. Oh, are you good? 4, 3, 2. Hold your chest lifted. We're gonna lift.
We
That
have to
was
protect
unsightly. I
all
didn't
men
need
in
to see that.
America, especially all white men in America. Those are the boys that we care about in this country. America is built on their backs. Yes. Because
Well, that's just crazy because like Erika Kirk is like not, she's not like she's not like
they
that, right?
are the ones
She was the
who matter
wife
most.
of Mr. Big Tent, Charlie Kirk. So there you have it. This is the Druski How Conservative Women in America Act. And there you have it. That was actually kind of lackluster, to be honest. I think if anything, it was just the whiteface. I think maybe the most offensive part was the whiteface element of it. If you were asking me, I don't even find it to be that offensive at all. This photo is insane. He did do the whiteface much better as the male, but again, he is a male, so it makes sense like that. Yeah. You know, Adam says, I wish Erika Kirk said that about white men, you know, right? It's like, you know, it's the same, we're the same issue of, you know, I wish Erika Kirk was Hitler, dude. You know, I wish that she was. I wish that she was. That's funny. A for black guy effort. That's funny. And, but the thing is the way that people are all reacting to it is like, is insane. You know, and I think I even saw, there's been a bunch of these different like fake and parody accounts that were pushing that she's responded to this. And one of them, I kid you not, I'm not even joking you. It's from like a fake account. It's like some parody thing or whatever. It's like Politics Crave or something like that. And it was, the caption literally was quote, it was something to the effect of, and I'm going to do some YouTube censorship here, but it was F you, Wigga. It was like Erika Kirk has responded to Druski's skit. And she said in its quotations, F you, Wigga. And I commented, I was like, listen, unironically, if Erika Kirk came out and said that, TPUSA would start gaining support again. They would start coming out being like, maybe, you know, Erika Kirk might actually not be that bad. And it's just hilarious. It is just hilarious. She has said it about white men. Look in the replies. I don't even need to. And here's the thing, even if she did, doesn't mean anything because everything else about her is fake. TPUSA is fake. And it is sad. I kind of, not that it's like heartbreaking by any means, but it is sad. You know, this is some Troy Kirk's life work. And I believe I saw that even now, like the opening or an original chapter from, what's it called? There's no way that's Clavicular, dude. No way. No way that Sneeko came into the chat a month ago and then like Clavicular comes into the chat. No way, dude. This has got to be a fan account. If it is, dude, like I guess I'm just getting lucky, dude. But yeah, we like Clavicular here. And she says it all Zio coded very creepily. She does say it like that. But that's the thing, right? And what I was going to say was, I think I saw there was a report that the actual original chapter of TPUSA was like potentially like going to like disband or something like that, due to like maybe some like, you know, technicalities or things. And apparently there's like a clip floating around if we're talking about it. But again, if you guys don't know, I like have avoided just talking about the Erika Kirk and the Candace Owens things. Like I've just, you know, if you want to hear an episode of Modern Housewives, dude, we can do that. But like, that's like not what I'm about. So like, that's part of the reason why like I've not covered it. It's just kind of, it's went beyond the pale where, you know, we're entertaining like, you know, aliens, you know, calling in. One thing I will cover is the fact that Candace did attack Nick Shirley. I thought that was kind of insane. But that's kind of it for the Druski skit though. We'll move on from that. I thought it was just funny. Wanted to make sure I covered it. And, you know, we are like what they should have done is in the background though. It should have been the We Are Charlie Kirk. Like that should have been playing, dude. Like that would have made it even more funny. So, you know, And there are some other serious stories I want to make sure we cover, and I think they're relevant, particularly from the FBI perspective. And I think that matters and relevant to the Tyler Robinson case, which again ropes everything back in here. Here we are talking about it again. But I'll cover those in a little bit after this. I believe I'll cover this first, actually, while we're on the Erika Kirk stuff. This came from Candace Owens, and I saw this quote tweeted from Tim Pool, I believe. Yes, Tim Pool, actually. So here it is. And it kind of took me off guard. I don't know. I couldn't find a longer clip, actually. I only did a curse research, and I can't be asked to go listen to Candace Owens' show to go find it either. But I like Candace, don't get me wrong. Tim Pool, he says, okay, now I'm totally convinced Candace is an op. First, why go after Nick Shirley at all? More importantly, why discredit his work? Implying he fakes his news coverage. This is effing wild. And so this is from Officer Lou. It's just a short clip here from Candace, and so I don't even know how old it is. I'm assuming it's from her most recent episode, I'd have to imagine, because I didn't see any of it until today, but it's almost 24 hours old now. What time is it? So yeah, probably came from yesterday, it seems. So here it is, and I really can't make much sense of it at all. So here it is. Play it. Let me start the volume low.
Happened to find myself on top of Brazil's largest favela in a destroyed house, interviewing gang members of one of the largest gangs in Brazil.
Okay, I'm just gonna say I don't believe that at all. I'm sorry. I just it's so stupid. I'm not even gonna tell you why I don't believe it. It's like if you don't know that that's stupid, that he infiltrated the gang in 48 hours. That's so dumb. I'm so tired of dumb. That's not how that works, okay? You don't just go up to gangs on the street as a nice-looking white boy with a camera and say, hey, I just wanted to sort of see what you're doing here. What's going on?
All right. Candace, we like you, but we don't throw around a white boy around here like that, okay? And you could tell she's pissed. This white boy takes us an op versus an op. Is that what it is? Nick Shirley stealing her thunder. She said, hey, come on. I'm distracting the goyim. You can't be distracting the goyim because it's hurting me distracting the goyim.
What's going on? Okay, that's just stop. That's stupid. Of course, that's dumb. I'm sorry, Nick. I know you're young. I hope, whoever is your contact that has you infiltrating Antifa and infiltrating El Salvador at the age of 23 years old. It just feels like Sean Penn young to me. Like, oh, Sean Penn's always there.
Happened to find myself on top.
So she's just saying it's fake, right? Would she say the same thing about Tyler Oliveira, I guess? Like, I would doubt it. I would imagine you would see the clip of that if she went after Tyler Oliveira, but she did not. And it just doesn't really make much sense. I guess like she's looking at his investigation, like there's no way that's real. Hey Candace, like, can we get the Egyptian planes put on your website yet? Hey Candace, there's a lot of people who are still really interested in seeing the way that you broke down the Egyptian plane data. You have anything to say at all about the guy who went out of his way, the random YouTuber who went and bought the flight information just to prove you wrong? Nope, nothing. And it's yeah. Oh, totally right. Everyone, silence. A black woman is speaking. Moment of silence. A black woman is speaking. Okay. That was long enough, right? That was honorable enough of a silence. I don't know. It's just I don't want to get involved in drama. I don't want to even be clipped by Candace saying this. Obviously, her and Zeb have I'm still expecting at some point Zeb will be brought on Candace's show to talk about some of the findings as well too. I don't want to harm his chances by being overly rude by any means. So make of that what you will. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. Seems like she's running out of content to make drama about. Seems like that maybe is the new avenue she'll possibly go down. Is anyone actually even following? Do I have any watchers or listeners who are following the Candace Erika investigation? Is that over already? Did we decide anything about that? Does anything come out about it? I haven't even seen any more Candace clips lately, and this isn't to really attack her. Just like what are we doing with that? What's even happening with that? No one knows. I'm on X every day. No one knows. Ma'am, stay back. I'm not even trying to be rude. I'm just being honest, man. And I will always be honest with you. Like, That's my promise to you guys. Is you're always going to get honesty. It's going to burn me at some point, but I will always be honest with you. These comments are hilarious. And speaking of some of the more insane stuff that's been going on, I don't know if any of you guys have seen this at all, but Dan Bilzerian is now, he has vowed to run against Randy Fine. And the way he announced it was hilarious. I think he just literally posted it on X and he's like, I'm going to dethrone or I'm going to de-seat that FF, that fat fuck. I thought that was funny. I thought that was very funny. And we'll see what happens with that. Seems like Florida is like the place of action, really. Can you imagine getting James Fishback and Dan Bilzerian like taking office in the next like year or two? It'd be kind of crazy, to be honest with you. But okay. I guess moving on to a few more serious lines, and then we'll get closer to. We'll go back into the domestic market a little bit. There were a couple other headlines I wanted to run off to you. There is another smaller story, and it's not even really a story. There's like a smaller trend, and this is just that the Iran AI has just been outputting just like high quality content. Like who are they using for this? One of the ones they put out earlier today was it depicted Trump with Netanyahu basically serving ball with a massive star of Remphan, or the Star of David, whatever you want to call it, on its forehead. And it ends with Iran bombing Satan and Baal and Netanyahu and Trump, and like they win, and like the whole thing is like they're reciting like this is a righteous war against we're fighting Satan and his people. Like that's how they're talking about the United States. Heck, words fail to describe this. We're gonna watch this just so you guys can see this. I mean, like just see the level of which they are viewing this and they're putting out this content. It's less than 50 seconds long, but here it is. I don't know if you guys had seen this or not, but here it is. Donnie says it's honestly pretty effing based. Let me turn it down too so it doesn't blow us out of the water.
We sacrificed 168 beautiful, innocent school kids. The best kids. Tremendous sacrifice. Nobody does sacrifice like we do. We did it for you, sir. Believe me, Val, it's huge.
Oh, this is like so anti-Semitic, isn't it, guys?
I want
And you see this through here, right? Do you call upon the idol of Baal and abandon the best of creators? So fight against Satan's forces indeed. Satan's schemes are ever weak. Like, that's crazy, right? Hopefully it's not too loud for you guys. So, I guess the question is like, are they using Sora? Like, who are they going to? Like, who's commissioning these AI projects? Because that's at least like the fourth or fifth one I've seen at that quality of level being produced out there. It's kind of crazy. The Iran Lego video, I don't know if I've seen that one or not, to be honest. That's funny. Danny Brooks says, like the video or we'll give you a wedgie and take your lunch money. Yes, make sure you definitely smash the like button. It helps the channel tremendously. I appreciate it. And Chosen Bayonne says, I'm going to unlike the video now just for some excitement. So Donnie, Donnie will be arriving at your house shortly. He will be there. Trust me. He doesn't miss. BP says, if you stop watching politics, you will have peace. That's true. Ignorance is bliss. I think for a lot of people who just like, who black pill out and spiral out and let this affect them, like you should just lobotomize yourself. It's easier. Like it literally is a curse. The more IQ that you have, I mean, this is literally known. The smarter you are, the more likely you are to be depressed, the more likely you are to just have not good friendships, the more likely you are to struggle to make friends. So yeah, I mean, like that for people who like are struggling with the black pill, just maybe perhaps that's the answer, is just slam your head against the wall a few times, or maybe what's better. Maybe what's better. What should you do? I mean, you could probably listen to, no, you could probably go to Popeye's Chicken and just spend your afternoons there. And like, I'm sure after like a period of time, you'll just stop. You'll just stop caring and stop concerning yourself with stuff. But no, And then the response is, look at this, right? Look how easily you can trigger somebody. What a deceived take. Okay, so now the guy's argument is ignorance is not bliss. So now he's arguing the happiest people in the world are the ones who know everything. It's just like, come on, dude. Like, I try to tolerate. Dude, he says yes, it is. I don't know how to be happy, guys. Like, come on, dude. This is comedy. I actually do enjoy the fact that as I've gotten bigger, like, to be fair, Zeb attracts way more retards than I do. Like, I just have like a bit of a natural filter, I think. I'm just a bit too but you occasionally get him here, man. And like, you can stay if you want to. I really don't care. But I've literally never heard someone argue that ignorance is not bliss. Like, this is the argument that's being made right now in the chat. And that I just don't know how to be happy. Dude. I was just like, okay. Okay. But no. And no, and I guess maybe to give a more substantive pushback to that, like, no, I think actually what you're pushing is the reason why we got here. The escapism, the continual, like, and this is what our fathers, the boomers, can't we all just get along? Like, does it really matter? Like, you don't need to push that. Yeah, now it's nervous laughter. That's crazy. Anyways, but no, this is the reason why we're here. This is the reason why the churches are suffering from the Zionist takeover, is because men couldn't be bothered to fight the fight. And so they escaped. They moved on. They retreated. They backed away. You also have, in the same way that politics became literally a hodgepodge of a bunch of different Jewish factions arguing back and forth, is because all the other guys were, they just escaped. They walked out. They left. They retreated. Retreatism, maybe more so than escapism. And that's the reason why we're here, is because it has been beaten and browbeaten into people that maybe they should just not pay attention to everything. Just let the better people just decide the way that your nation runs. That's insane. That's literally insane. Now, I do think that of some people like you, I think that you would be better served doing that, to be honest with you, not to be rude. But no, what we're fighting against is the fact that we have no vigilance. We're fighting against the fact that because our forefathers weren't vigilant, not all of them, but the ones of just the preceding generations, going all the way back to boomers, if not, maybe that might be where we stop, is because that's what they pushed, right? Going in and just getting along with your neighbor, just being friends, right? Just let's have unity, right? And like, that's why we're here, actually, is because of all this continual push that we could just keep kicking the can down the road and things would be okay. Well, here we are. MAGA is the greatest scam of all time. We're at war with Iran. It's looking worse and worse by the day. We got a report that almost every military base in the Middle East from the United States is literally all but uninhabitable, right? Like, they're just, it got blasted off, right? So now our military is operating out of hotels and, in office buildings in the Middle East. And now the Iran is in the argument against Hamas, which is that they hide behind civilians, which is now actually true, because if America is literally operating, the U.S. military is operating out of office building and hotels, that is now threatening civilian areas if Iran decides to strike where the United States operations are coming from. You also have the Epstein files. You also have, we could go down the line. We are at the brink of collapse, is actually where we are. And telling people to go watch Asmongold, which he's in the political arena right now, but to go turn on the Mormon Housewives or some shit is like, that's why we are here, actually, is because you and many other people kept telling each other, because you don't have a grasp on what you believe, because you're unwilling to fight for what you believe. Your fallback is, well, let's just all get along. I don't want to make any enemies. That's just better off if there's no fighting. I'm sorry, that only results in evil winning, actually, as we have discovered, which is all it takes for evil to win out is for good men to do nothing. So no, I'm actually the complete opposite of telling people to just not care about politics. Not caring about politics is actually why America effing sucks right now. And it's this lie that continues to be pushed and brought about by other younger individuals, that I find it to be a poison. It is a poison to a discourse. Everybody should be involved. Everybody should know what their beliefs are. And this is a problem, even, and it's not even just one-sided either, but this is a huge problem, even inside of like with even inside of Christian understanding. You have this idea that you could ask your average Christian, like, post mill or pre mill. I've talked about this like last week, 2 weeks ago. Post mill or pre mill? What do you mean? This is like your eschatological view of like Christianity. Like, are you a post millennial or are you a pre millennial? What does that mean? Well, what do you mean? What does that mean? You know, and you can go back even to like a even more baseline argument, which is a lot of people, like, the thought hasn't even crossed their mind. So when you ask somebody, you ask them, you go, hey, what do you think about this? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Now, this isn't to say that you need to have an opinion on everything, but it is to say, like, if you have a belief set, you should at least understand the belief set you claim to hold. Therein, like, if I claim to be a Christian, I should be able to defend those beliefs. It's like someone coming to you and saying, like, hey, you need to do that. And you go, why? And they're like, well, I can't tell you why. You just need to do it because that's what I think. Who's going to listen to you? Nobody. And this all goes again, all in line again with my general message to most young men, which is you need to be superfluous. You need to be like a Nick Fuentes, where it can just flow out of you. You're asked by someone, you need to debate something, you need to push for something, because if you can't even do that in like a personal setting, then like, how are you going to be expected to like convince your wife or persuade your families? How are you? And this is kind of a huge problem, right? Because many men, they talk about how their marriages are in shambles, or like their girlfriend's like a libtard, and it's like, so what are you doing? You're going to tell me, as you, the man in the relationship, can't even convince your own wife of the political positions that you type away on keyboards and chat rooms all across the digital space, but you couldn't even convince your wife? What's the disconnect there? And that's not to say that every woman is winnable, but I actually do think it's close to a majority of them are winnable if you are strong enough. I think, again, that goes into being a chat and everything like that too. But the point being, it's like, if you can't even convince someone in your own family, or you couldn't make the argument to someone nearby you, then what, do you even really have positions? Do you even actually have arguments? Or is everything that you are just an amalgamation and a hodgepodge of social media posts that you saw that loosely got your brain to kind of fire a couple neurons together, and like you have a loose, maybe halfway belief, but when push comes to shove, maybe your positions would fall apart because you actually really don't have a strong belief in them. And that is a problem. It's not everybody's problem, but it is a major problem. And I think Mr. Beat Piece is gone. I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him in a while. I think he's gone. I was trying to be like literally honest. That was a good pushback, if you will, from somebody who's probably not a normal follower. It probably never will be at this point, but you can't win them all, and that's the point. Because if you try to win them all, you believe in nothing, and that's the problem with the big tent. You try to appeal to everybody, you lose all of them. You need to appeal to what you actually believe. We covered the Iran AI. That was a bit of a rant that derailed me a little bit. Apologize. Donnie says, my bad. No, no, that's good. That's good. A bit more of these pieces in here too are pretty positive. Chad Norman, forgive me, he's been putting a couple good ones in here. He says, so many modern white males have a psychological block when it comes to asserting themselves and taking the lead with women. Almost all the dating issues ultimately come from this. I agree. And I think it extends beyond just even being like a white thing. I think you see a lot more of it show itself in the white race. And again, there's just more of us here in America. But at the same time, I agree. I think there is something distinctually. And I think what you'd have to also rope in there too is the ladder, right? The color ladder, if you will, right? The oppression Olympics, the oppression ladder. But also you got to take in there the very clear and obvious Jewish push of miscegenation, right? This interracial marriage, the interracial concept. And I've talked about this often, but you guys know it as well as I do, right? You will see it's a car commercial. It's an insurance commercial. It's a commercial for McDonald's. It's a commercial for, whatever it is, right? It's like, it's male black actor and white female actor, and they're married and they have mixed kids. But like I told you guys some time ago, one of the best podcasts I ever heard, and again, it came from Jake Shields, just saying something, but an individual episode that is, and I forget his name, but he's a black nationalist. And he talked about how what he experiences is the complete opposite of that. When he gets commercials, when he's thinking from Detroit, but when he gets commercials, it's white man and black woman. When he gets an insurance commercial, it's white man and black woman. When he gets an advertisement for Mercedes-Benz, white man and black woman. And so it's going both ways. That is the push, right? That is part of like this extreme like tribalistic push. And again, I don't really know what to make of the psychological block, to be honest with you. I think that this is where we're now talking about a generational problem. I think you have to actually rope in now that like it's not even just the white men like in our generation. I think that you have a lot of like people who are like even some of our parents and people who are, the parents of people in our generation also were struggling with this, right? Coming through like the 70s, 80s, and 90s through the sexual revolution. I think some of them also have some kind of brokenness to them, some kind of psychological blocks to them. And again, hot off the back of the, again, sexual revolution, but also female liberation. And what would be the number one way to lose, sexual access? Well, you come out and you start talking about how women don't deserve rights, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I think there's many parts to it. There's many moving pieces to it. But we definitely know it's very bad for sure. Definitely right now. We have Uncle Hal says that they're doing it they're doing in advertising what the communists did with movies, only present a world as you want it to be, and they are doing it in movies too. They've been doing it in Hollywood. Hollywood's actually had a bit of a different angle on it, less so with the interracial, but the interracial is still there. But what's the typical white dad in Hollywood or in any episode series? Well, he's just this numbnut idiot. He's just like this absolutely like, cucked, like, I'm just this dumb guy, and like he might be the friendly one, but it's like the mom's always got to, fix his problems. The mom's always complaining about how the dad's just an idiot. And that's like this, that's kind of like the stereotypical trope. And I kid you not, one of maybe the most aggressive commercials in this light that came from actually the NFL. And I'm trying to think if it was a progressive commercial or if it was an Allstate commercial. It's one of those. Somebody said, how old am I? I just turned 30 in this last December. So I'm officially a boomer, actually. No, not really, but I'm old. I'm old now. I'm only 2.5 years older than Nick. So I'm not that old. Okay. But Nick's getting old too. Right. Unk status. It's funny. Forgive me. I lost track of what I was saying. No, the commercial. So there was this commercial and I'm trying to remember the name of the quarterback who was actually featured in it. But dude, Donnie, I'm going to ban Donnie, dude. No, I'm just kidding. I would never ban anybody. Unless you're a woman. We don't tolerate that here. It's a joke. It's a joke for now. Okay, anyways, this insurance commercial was like talking about how sometimes like you might need help. And it was like very specifically about how this guy like couldn't like back up. He had like a trailer and it's like a tree or something, and he couldn't back his trailer up to where he needed to get it in. And what the commercial was, it was saying sometimes you need backup. And the wife literally tells the husband, hey, get out. I think it's time for, and it was a popular quarterback who was a backup at the time. I think he played for the Vikings. I cannot remember who it was at this point. But then the commercial is like the husband gets out and he's like, oh golly, well, you're right, I can't do that. And the quarterback steps in, this Chad comes in and he's like, I got you, honey. He pats the wife, he gets in the car, he perfectly backs up it in. He's like, yeah, sometimes you need backup. What is the subliminal messaging here? In this, the husband can't finish the job calling a random dude. Just call your local random Chad, right? I maybe need to find this commercial. People might not believe me. Let me see if I can find it. Backup QB insurance commercial back in. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah. It was the backup campaign. Okay, it was a progressive commercial. Yeah, Lola, we're gonna try to find this actually. So the Tommy DeVito ones that were crazy, but it's the backup ones. Oh, what's his name? Case Keenum. That's who it was. That's the specific one I'm looking up. Yes. Ooh. Brain's on fire right now. Here's the Case Keenum one. Videos, please. I can see that. You can see this one. You see it, how the wife's get ready to tell the guy to get out of the car. So this is the commercial I was just talking about, okay? The subliminal messaging in here.
All right, third time's a charm. Here we go.
Is it even playing sound? What is going on?
All right, third time's a charm. Here we go. It's okay. We'll get on the next one.
Pressure's getting to him.
Maybe we should change it up.
Now I got it.
Keenum, get loose!
Here we go. Daddy's got this.
Hey. You got us this far. Keenum's gonna finish the drive.
You got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
If only there were backups in real life. But at least there's Progressive to protect your home and auto.
So that's it, right? Like, and that's just one of many, right? One of many. And again, yeah, the racial element was there. That time it was white man and black woman. But they're all present there, right? And it's just to say, like, what is the subliminal messaging there? That one was a bit more like on the just like the male aspect, right? The male headship role. And all the signals that it's being sent is like, here's the wife, she's commanding it, she's pointing it, she's the leader, she's coordinating, and it's just this doof of a husband who's like ramming his own white picket fence with his vehicle because he can't do it. And it's like the pressure's getting to him, like, I get the whole, like, the plan for like a backup quarterback and whatnot. I get like there's a defense of it, sure, but like I think it's very obvious, like the subliminal messaging there is a little uncomfortable. What? You just go, what? What is that? What's funny is Uncle Thugged. I'll take that. Maybe that's what the new name will be. I'll just become Uncle Thugged. Donnie wants trial by combat. We'll stream it live. Hey, we'll take it to Aiden Ross. Brand risk. Me and Donnie. Me and Donnie. Somebody said a loser. Elwood. Is it a girl? Yes. That's funny. That's funny. Man, that's funny. That's funny. Oh. We do a little offending here. I watched Offensively Accurate and I got offended. I did. Oh man. No, I named it Offensively Accurate because I'm here to give you safe and easy takes. I'm gonna massage it down for you and speak very softly. Hell, I'm gonna start whispering it to you. Welcome to Offensively Accurate ASMR, where I will kindly and gently and softly tell you what you want to hear. Like, dude, get the fuck out. What do we do? It's funny. Hey, keep it coming, dude. I'm going to do the joint stream all the time now. If it keeps bringing in people like this, dude, like, this is comedy. This actually makes it worth the stream, dude. No, I mean, I'm joking, but no, really, that's hilarious. Thank you for all of these individuals, right? Thanks, Breland. That's funny. Okay, we're going off the rails, as Tix would say. The train is being derailed. We're falling out in a way. I was going to have a bit of a community submission, but it's just a bit of a shorter story. And so thank you to House for bringing this to my attention. I hadn't even seen it until he put it in the tinfoilhat.com there on the Discord. If you guys do want to join, it's available. And that is that the state of Ohio passed 27-4 earlier in March, the anti-Semitism law, the one that uses the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance working definition, meaning they can just change it as is, and it has all of these core tenets in there. And it passed 27-4. And for those who don't know, the only 4 who voted no against it was 4 Democrats. And if you wanted to know the makeup of the House, which is where it's going to now, I think it's actually going to the Judicial Committee. It's following the standard path, but it's going to the think it's going to the Judicial Committee, and then will probably be looked at before it's given to the House for the House to vote on. And the House makeup in Ohio, we only have like 99 members right now. For some reason, I forget what that reason is, but it's like 65 Republican, 34 Democrat. So by all accounts, it's projected to pass in Ohio, which is unfortunate. And it even goes so far as to make a few extra, couple what would you call that, tenets of like the proposals, right? It goes a little bit further. And again, this is the one that says like, if you compare like the actions of Israel to Nazi Germany, like that's anti-Semitic. And it basically is like, this, we're talking about the same things with like Revelation, right? This would ban portions, saying the Jews code Christ, that would now become an anti-Semitic crime. And dude, I'm telling you right now, if Ohio plans to do that, yeah, F no man. The language in the bill is that, right? So we can look at SB 87, but it literally is everything that was in HR 6090, which is the same stuff you already expect and you already see on X, which is Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9, basically struck from the record. Any criticism of Israel is literally just like anti-Semitism. Essentially, it's just aggressive. I mean, it literally is insanely aggressive. And so I'm here to tell you right now that it's not stopping a single ounce of what I'm doing, and so be it. And here's the thing. If God is with me, then who could be against? So like, I don't care. I don't care anymore. And if that's the case and some dumbass sheriff wants to show up to my house because I said words online streaming and that's deemed some kind of misdemeanor or something like that, so be it. So be it. Wow. Crazy. Now, obviously I wouldn't just like risk or do anything dangerous or anything like that, but like, I'm sorry, dude. You are not going to sit here. I mean, it's just an illegitimate government at that point. We or your government are now saying that parts of the Bible are now banned. You can't even read certain verses of your Bible because of the way it would make Jews feel. F that. Not in my country, and it is my country as long as I'm alive, right? As long as I stay alive, not in my state. So we'll see what happens with that, but it doesn't look good because the makeup of the House would essentially, I mean, it's going to get passed. That would be if, so far as there weren't any kind of Republicans who flip sides. You can hope, I really hope, but that's kind of all we got right now is hope and praying for it as well. And, just to bring it to your attention, right? Like I think I pulled it up on, where did I have it? House sent me the article, but I don't have the article in front of me. Let me go directly to Ohio. It's SB 87. Yeah, Senate Bill 87 in the 136th General Assembly. Let me pull this up so you guys can see this. So here's the current version as passed by the Senate. This is what we have right here, okay? And I think it's Senator, that's funny. It's Senator Terry Johnson is who the sponsor is, right? So he's the lead here with all the other co-sponsors added. And, but it is, again, right here. So 124.92 for the purpose of anti-discrimination and anti-bias training for state agency employees, the definition of anti-Semitism in section 4112.01 of the revised code shall be used as an educational tool to familiarize staff and officials with anti-Semitism. And again, it is the installation of the I always say it backwards, International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism. And you get past a couple of these here. Get into a bit more of the past the definitional language they use. Forgive me, some of these bills are just annoying to read through. Right here. 26A, quote unquote, anti-Semitism means a perception of Jewish people, which may be expressed as hatred toward Jewish people, directed toward Jewish individuals and non-Jewish individuals or their property, or toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities in either rhetorical or physical form. B, contemporary examples of anti-Semitism include all of the following. So it says right here, so section I under B says calling for aiding or justifying the killing or harming of Jewish people in the name of a radical ideology or an extremist view of religion. Then 2, or II, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jewish people as such, or the power of Jewish people as a collective, including the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy, or of Jewish people controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions. Also, yeah, thank you for becoming a member. Who was that? Susan Bayonne, thank you greatly, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you for becoming a member. And so it goes on, III, which this one's just insane. I mean, like, this is literally just insane. It basically is like, you can't observe reality. It goes on, it says, it says, accusing Jewish people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish individual or group, or for acts committed by non-Jewish people. That's crazy. That's just crazy. Denying the fact, scoped, mechanisms, or intentionality of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of National Socialist Germany and its supporters and accomplices during World War II. Number 5, accusing Jewish people or the state of Israel of inventing or exaggerating the genocide that occurred in Europe during World War II. Oh man, it's just so aggressive. But again, these are all of the same tenets that were involved with HR 6090, which failed largely, and luckily because we got ahead of it. Then down here, holding Jewish people collectively responsible for actions of the state of Israel, drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazi regimes. And you know what it actually doesn't have? Hold on, let me try to. Oh no, there it is. Yep, there it is. There it is. I knew it was in here, dude. I knew this stupid stuff was in here. This is the most aggressive one. This is the one that really, this is the one that matters. And it says, using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, including claims of Jewish people killing Jesus of Nazareth or blood libel to characterize Israel or Israelis. And that right there is an attack against this is an attack against the Christian faith and Christian people. And I will look at it no other such way. This is blatantly saying, if I read the Bible out loud, certain verses of the Bible being read out loud would qualify as an anti-Semitic act under Senate Bill 87. If you are an Ohio senator or Republican congressperson or whatever, or you live in Ohio or you care in the slightest, this cannot be allowed to pass. But again, it is basically a reprint of HR 6090, right? And this is what was being, I think it was co-sponsored, not outright sponsored, but by Mike Lawler. Okay. And who's Mike Lawler? Mike Lawler is the same guy who the moment Tom Homan and, so Adam says this isn't fully passed, right? So it passed the Senate 27-4, and it's awaiting the House. It's at the Judicial Committee right now, but it will soon be voted on by the House soon. DeWine will definitely sign it. I mean, at this point, it's a guarantee. It's basically a guarantee. This will be Ohio law. And it's actually kind of annoying that Ohio might be the first one to pass it, but what can you do? So I'll be following that. I'll try to be keeping tabs on that as much as I can. And I was unaware of it until House sent me but it passed the Senate like earlier this month, actually. It was like March 4th or something, or March 10th, something along those lines. So, So Bible will get ready. I mean, what are we going to do? Like, I mean, is the question to be like, should I ask Governor DeWine, like, should I sell my Bible, or should I just turn it into police? What should I do with my Bible? That's actually probably the best way to go about this. What do I do with this literature, this anti-Semitic literature? Maybe that's what I'll start doing. I'll show up to the police station and I'll go, should I give this Bible to you now? Or are you going to wait until the law passes and then you'll come take it from me? Maybe that's a protest. Seriously, like I'm going to take my Bible to the local police station and say, do you want to take this from me now? Or would you prefer to just come and collect it? This is stupid, dude. And you only arrive to this position, again, by what I went on a rant earlier. You arrive to this position when the people who hold beliefs are so weak in their ability to actually argue for them or understand them or actually grasp them in their posterity in general, that this is what you get. You get people who literally say things like Jesus was a Jew with no understanding or concept of the categorical distinction made between being from the line of Judah versus being a Jew in today's terms, being of the school of Talmudic Judaism, right? Or being Ashkenazim or Sephardic, right? It's just insane. It is just absolutely insane. And but again, shout out to House for putting that in there, and I'll definitely be following that as it continues. Yeah, why am I being antiseptic, right? That's hilarious. That's what the workaround was for AI for the longest time. GTV putting out videos. Oh no, that's antiseptic, because it's like they're finding a way that would get around it was going to get around the the filter or like the protector or whatever, the sensor. Forgive me. But there were a couple things I wanted to cover too that were a bit more serious, and I'll cover them here at the end as well. Now that we're getting close to being done. Five Nights at Epstein's. I don't know if you guys had seen this or not. Five Nights at Epstein's is literally apparently a game. It's a play on of Five Nights at Freddy's, and a lot of kids in school are playing it, and it's pissing parents off. And you have parents who are coming out and saying, they're like, we need to ban it. Like, we got to ban this stuff completely. Like, this stuff is banned, period. Like, what are we doing? And it's like, you realize the people who are in charge of everything right now are these people that the game's making fun of. But you think the way to tackle this problem is by banning the game from your students to be able to play it. Like, you are further cementing in these kids' minds that they are ruled by a cabal of evil elites that they can do nothing about. Perhaps maybe be an ounce of a reasonable person and let's set the pearls are clutched. Let's release our grip. Let the pearls fall back to where they were. And maybe let's get a grounding here and be reasonable about what these kids are reacting to. And part of it is, I think the reason they can't stop it is because it's like an internet browser game. I think it's like inside the browser. I've not seen it, but I do plan on streaming it like this weekend. I do plan on playing the game. I want to play it like live with you guys. I think it'd be a funny thing to do. There's even videos going around of like this Latino kid playing it and getting spooked in class because Epstein comes at him like flying through the hallway. I thought that was funny. But that's the way I look at it. It's like parents are more mad that the kids have access. Like this is part of the problem here. The problem isn't that the kids have access to the internet. The kids will be the only reason that we get out of this problem at all. Because it's the parents who keep coming out and are being the ones that are trying to go, let's play nice, don't do this. They're the ones that are putting the clamps on everything. They're the ones that are saying, let's just all get along. I can't be bothered. Don't ask me to give more attention. Don't ask me to read the news. And then you want people to just like, everyone bury your heads. Like the kids are playing this game because society is so ass broken backwards. That's why they're playing these games. They're playing these games because the pop culture for kids right now literally is Epstein Island and We Are Charlie Kirk, while Erika Kirk's dancing, doing twerking with pyrotechnics going off. And if you can't understand that, then I'm sorry, then you need to at least have the ability to come to the table and say, hey, I think I'm a little too old and I've lost my pulse. My finger's not on the trigger. I actually don't know what's going on. Someone please help me. Because otherwise, what are you doing? Like, what? Like, I'm tired of these reactions that are just so like reality's over here, guys. like we exist over here in the real world. What are you doing? Like, where are you? Come back. It's funny. It's Tix Bomber says it's oh, Roblox is fine. Yeah, right. Yeah, with Roblox is just crazy, dude. The several on Roblox is going crazy. We probably saw that, right? They were doing mass deportations on Roblox, so they were ever going to do them here in the country. So, and no, talking about the Bible. If I'm not mistaken, it was written in a form of Greek. That's, from what I understand, it was like primarily the New Testament was primarily written in Greek. I'm blanking on the Old Testament, and also portions of it was written in Aramaic too. So, and there's also a difference of, again, translations. There's also a difference of the manuscripts. You know, and so I believe like the way that some of these translations are described is like they are phrase for phrase translations. And then you also have translations that are like word for word translations, right? So phrase for phrase is like looking for a similar idiom or phrase or exaggeration that'd be similar in the other, right? You know, going back. It just depends. There's a lot there. Okay. No more side railing here. We're going to finish up on a couple of serious notes here. I'm just going to kind of rattle this off to you guys because I do think they are connected, but in a minor way. So there were two major stories that happened kind of outside of the Iran purview. And the first one came from Kash Patel. He had posted about this publicly. But there's this article going viral in a report that a brother and sister were arrested because they both planted now they say Singapore is like a potential IED, but just the article refers to it as a potentially deadly explosive outside of MacDill Air Force Base in Florida. And so the brother supposedly fled to China. The sister is in custody. And the mom of the siblings is actually, and is being detained by ICE currently. I don't think there's any pending charge on the mom, but she's being detained currently by ICE. And so the brother's name, Alan Zhang, he is the one who supposedly planted the bomb. The sister's being charged as an accessory as well as tampering with evidence. And we found out about it earlier this morning because the indictments were released early this morning, but it actually happened in early March, on March 10th. And so here's one of the kickers. The prosecutor says that the day after the bomb was planted, they tried to cover their tracks by selling the car they used to go do it to CarMax. And then they still, even after vacuuming and cleaning the car, they still found explosive residue in the vehicle, which is funny. My daughter just slammed in my door, about like jumped out of my chair. You also have that the indictments again were on sale this morning, but supposedly he planted the device outside of the base's visitor center. And then literally minutes later, this guy, Alan Zhang, this brother, he calls 911 to make a cryptic call that he planted the bomb. Okay, well, I immediately my first reaction is, well, why would he call the threat on himself? So he calls the threat on himself, but then he also tried to cover up after the fact. That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, I'm doing something, I'm going to let everybody know it's here, but I'm also trying to cover it up after the fact. You get this idea that it's like they weren't even being serious. But then there's more. So get this, the device did fail to detonate, but here's this. They didn't even find the bomb until a random Air Force airman found it on March 16th, 6 days later. So like, apparently this 911 call like just wasn't enough, or apparently maybe it was too cryptic. They didn't believe it at all. And you would even think, even if it was in the most like minor of a threat, you would just like, you know, look around. And apparently they didn't. So my thoughts immediately was like, okay, I think that immediately off the rip, like, is this story just fake? Or do we have like very serious security concerns at our military base? Like, you get a call that someone like planted a bomb off and you don't immediately check like the 24-hour footage. You don't spend time looking at the 24-hour footage. That just feels unserious. But it does track with the other stories that we've gotten recently, which was like, there's drones flying over the military bases and like, we can't do anything about them. They're just here. They're just doing it. I think back all the way back to when we had the hot air balloon from China that just flew from one side of the country to the other, right? And so maybe there is an element of there's some unserious, you know, security at some of these military bases. But to preserve evidence, the device was secured and they flew it to an FBI explosives lab in Alabama. And investigators immediately backtracked the 911 call digital footprint to the burner phone, Alan Zhang, that he purchased at Best Buy, and they corroborated that purchase of that phone with stored security footage of him buying it at that Best Buy. They also searched his phone and they found They searched his home and they found IED components consistent with the bomb that they found at base. And so here's another part that I don't get. Both siblings, okay, both brother and sister, initially fled to China. But then the sister was apprehended because she, for some reason, flew back to the United States in Detroit on March 17th, the day after the bomb was found. So then it's like, for some reason, there's a 911 call. There's a 6-day timeline where they just don't even treat it with any ounce of seriousness. And I am granted, maybe that is. Maybe they just they thought it was a joke. But for a military base, that feels a bit different. Like if it was for like something else, maybe like less conspicuous, I would get that, like a Dollar Tree or something like that, or even a gas station. But like a military base, really? And then they apprehend her at the airport the day after. So it's like now they're moving very quickly. Now they know who it is. That to me, I mean, again, you know, perhaps that's true. But overall, I think that this story is being floated to help bolster the FBI's credibility, to help bolster the FBI's and Kash Patel's credibility. Why? Well, because Joe Kent is out here getting ready to testify, willing to testify, I should say. I don't know if he said he will or not, but he said he would if he was asked. Going to testify against who? The FBI in the upcoming Tyler Robinson case for not pursuing foreign leads. In this case, it's specifically talking about how the FBI prevented and dealt with a case that had foreign leads. So that's where my first brain goes, which is like, perhaps this is true. Perhaps maybe they're even embellishing a little bit. Some of it doesn't make sense. But is this being done so Kash Patel has an extra stack of papers to stand on? To sit here and say, hey, like, you know, I'm over here in Valhalla, like the FBI is doing stuff, like we're getting things done in an attempt to help mitigate a little bit against the sentiment that the FBI is just a bunch of bumbling idiots, or like they're not even, or they're there to pursue Trump's agenda, or they're there for the behest of Israel, yada, yada. That's the way I kind of took that story. But even some of the details, just simply, they just don't make any sense at all. And there's another story that came out in a similar light, I would add. And this one came from Dropsite News, and I gotta say that from the beginning because everybody knows Dropsite News, Blumenthal, they get their funding, right? Weird Russia crypto Jew, right? But regardless, Dropsite News covered this, and it was actually the LA Times who had the article. It was Dropsite News who pushed a bit of a presser that kind of highlighted a portion of the article. And this goes back to like, I don't even know how years old this is now. I think I actually covered this at the beginning of my career, which was that they found biolabs in Reedley, California, because I think it was a random officer just walked past the building at some point, and she was like, dude, why does it smell like death? And then they raid the place later on because the smell is so strong, and they find like, you know, the guy's got fridges labeled Ebola, and it's like COVID and like SARS, and they found these agents and all this stuff in there too. And it's this California, you know, this biolab, and so supposedly it was being ran by, I believe the guy's name initially was something like, it's like Gia Bay Zoo. Also had an American name instead to help hide his identity further, by David Hay or David He. But what's in connection to this older California story is that they actually followed one of the leads. And so one of these houses listed as bail collateral by this Chinese man who was caught in California, who is still yet to face any federal charges, I do believe, for his role there in the California biolab. What he had listed, one of these leads, was listed as bail collateral, was this Las Vegas home on like Sugar Drives, you know, wherever that's at in Vegas. And so the police recently followed up on this lead, and it turns out that there was also like another biolab This time it was being managed. The property was, there's 2 properties listed, only one had stuff added, but it was being operated by an Israeli citizen by the name of Ori Solomon, who was 55 years old and who was accused of illegally possessing firearms and improperly disposing of hazardous waste. So they find a trove of firearms. They also find more biolab material. They also find, I believe, one of the reports said thousands of unmarked vials of samples that they just don't, they don't know what it is, right? It's just unmarked. And officers had to go wear protective gear to go get the stuff out. But that's not where it stops. It actually, like, it gets insane. So they have all this, like the tip-offs here. They chase it up, and it turns out, well, here's an Israeli national or an Israeli citizen continuing this. So now we have a Chinese man or a guy who used to formerly, so this Jay Bezu, right, the initial guy who was caught in California, turns out he worked for years in the CCP operating and maintaining state capital. But he had done something there that he was like on the run from China. He comes to America and he's like doing some kind of scheme. It's very weird. And it also doesn't make any sense because what they can't track is there's a congressional report that flagged about $1.3 million in payments that David He, or also known as Jay Bezu, the California bioexperimentist, bioscientist, whatever you want to call him, from Chinese banks. So he's being routed millions of dollars from Chinese banks, but supposedly is also, his story is that like he's not welcome in China anymore based on prior things that he did. Like he's also fugitive there. So like that story just doesn't make any sense and it's hard to trust. And even in the reports from this guy, he's gone so far to hide his story as he begins, when he's pressed so hard, he just acts like he can't speak English. Like, so who is this guy? Nobody knows. But it's odd because the connection here though is that Ori Solomon was operating and managing both of these properties that was listed in this Chinese guy's bail collateral. So then federal investigators follow it up and they go and they check out this Vegas property where the report even said they tried calling the number that was listed there hundreds and hundreds of times. I think they said over 400 times to no avail. But when they get there, there's an Israeli citizen, Ori Solomon, possessing illegal firearms. He had to cache a trove of them. And, you know, the investigators get the guns out. They clear the cache of weapons. And it's reported in this article from the LA Times, the first call he makes to a family relative when he gets released, he calls and he asks, did they take all the guns? Did they take everything? So it's like, this guy is like, that's like one of the things that you probably shouldn't be asking when you get it released, right? Because that implies obviously you're probably going to be searched for another one. You're asking because why? Right? Like, why are you asking if they took everything? Because you would clearly want one. You want to know if you are still in possession of one. And here's the best part, because the story doesn't stop there, right? So the judge ordered his release. You won't believe it. The judge is Jewish. You won't believe it. The judge is Jewish, ordered his release. And on top of that, federal prosecutors asked her to not pursue gun-related federal charges. So now this Ori Solomon guy, this Israeli citizen, is literally facing one state charge after all of that. So the U.S. magistrate judge who released him was by the name of Elena Yucha, which is spelled the most insane way possible. It is literally Elayna, and then her last name is Youchah. Okay, like it's like the most like, how can I spell this not normal? Indeed, it's just insane. This tracks, and here we are once again with Nevada, with Vegas, this area, the Utah area as well. Like, why are all these Israelis doing things and then being allowed basically to walk free? Right? It was the famous Alexandrovich, I think was his last name. Or Adrovich, I don't even know what his name is at this point, but he was the guy who got caught in the FBI sting, the pedophile. And he was just magically allowed to leave. Okay. And I did some digging on this chick, right? I was trying to look it up because I just saw the name and I immediately was like, has to be. And of course, yes, the judge is extremely Jewish. Her father, actually, Michael Yucha, came from the Ottoman Sephardic Jew camp. And he explicitly asked the judge, Elena Yucha, as his dying wish to make sure that their family's historical artifacts get added to the University of Washington's Sephardic Studies Digital Collection, which is part of the Strum Center for Jewish Studies. There's like literally nothing you can find about the mom. I tried finding more about the maternal lineage, literally couldn't find anything. And, so it's meant, and this is partly meant to illustrate the transnational migration of the Ottoman Sephardim from the Balkans to the United States. So it's like, okay, they're definitely Jewish, right? Like they definitely are. And on top of that, so like that would be the paternal side, right? So we know that it's matrilineal. However, I did find on top of that both of her sisters who have passed, both of their names appear in the East End Temple Book of Remembrance, which is a New York synagogue, which you only get if you're either specifically a member of the congregation or you have a very deep connection, which they did because the family did formerly live in New York City. And so this is just a kind of an insane case. Like why are the federal prosecutors asking for his gun charges to be dropped? This is typical. And he wasn't even here on like a typical kind of like visa either. So we're here once again. What is this? What's going on here? And like I saw with the other FBI case, that FBI case was like, look at a good job we did. Max Blumenthal highlighting this report makes me think this is going in the other direction. This is to build sentiment. Look at what the nonsense the FBI and these federal prosecutors are doing. Makes no sense. Look at them once again protecting an Israeli. And I think that's part of what the battle is going on right now. And I think it's in connection to what may happen in the Tyler Robinson case. And I think people are getting fearful of what may actually occur in that case. And I think if you were asking right now, I think a lot of people are just like, I literally have no idea, right? Like I am just like, obviously people feel certain types of ways, but if by whatever chance they get a Candace listener in that courtroom on that jury, and they hide the power level, they hide that they were listening to Candace Owens. I mean, there's no way in hell that person's going to fight tooth and nail to make sure Tyler Robinson gets off. And in addition to obviously the Joe Kent testimony, which I think is going to seriously throw a wrench into the case. It is going to paint the light. It will open things up even to a mistrial, right? That like this case was clearly, they had all these assumptions. They didn't even follow the typical channels that an investigation was supposed to go to. Maybe they'll call Tulsi Gabbard to the stand to see if she's willing to testify about the arguments they had with Kash Patel in following the foreign, the foreign channels that was relevant to the Charlie Kirk case. So that's what I see a lot with happening with that. And I think there's a bit of a battle occurring on the FBI's credibility. And again, I think Kash Patel has literally no credibility to burn. And I'm not even going to mention his stupid girlfriend, the Mossad honeypot girlfriend. But like, she's just aggressively annoying. And that is basically what I had today. I had a few more other things I could cover, but we passed the 2-hour mark. I want to keep them tight and short and, real tight. No pause. Just, no, just messing. But it is what it is. And that's it for today. A huge thank you to for Rex Roman for pushing that the gifted, everybody who sent the gifted, Appalachian Goy for supporting on Buy Me a Coffee. I appreciate that greatly. And for everyone else, all the super chats, Caleb as well, many of you guys, all the supporters, I appreciate you guys greatly. Thank you for that. And we'll continue to push. Tomorrow, it's up in the air. Tomorrow I'm up in the air over whether I would do a video or whether I would do a stream. I have an idea of a video already, and I think I might start scripting it tonight. But that is, if you missed it too, the ADL is now ranking video games based on anti-Semitism. And I have a good video idea to cover for that one. I think that'd be a solid one to cover in video format versus stream. So that's a possible idea, and then a couple other things too. So unsure. If I get the chance and I can do both, I will. It just depends on what I have to do for work as well. And I might actually be switching to a different other job as well too. So a lot going on, but we're trying to maintain. And if you want to know, you can always be in the Discord as well too. I always try to send shout outs in the Discord and tags and let people know what's going on as well too. And also X is the best way to just follow me in general. Like I'm most active on X, even though it's probably like my smallest platform, which is just kind of, it is what it is. But with that, I do want to say thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Make sure you smash the like button on your way out if you have not already. That helps the channel tremendously. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. Also, keep your eyes out as well that I will be starting the second channel here soon. I'll be directing people to it as well. It'll be essentially be acting as a dump off for all non-political content, for videos that I may do that fall out of the main kind of stay of what I typically produce and talk about. And so, and we'll see how that operates, and potentially that'll open it up for being a kind of a bit more of a gamey and, you know, movie-esque and maybe pop culture-esque and more lighter, the less so serious nature. We'll take the advice of what was his name, Beat His Meat 777 or something like that. You know, it is what it is. So keep on an eye out for that. And again, Rumble is obviously operating. You can follow me there too. You can also follow me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if anything were to happen to this show on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcast would be the #1 backup. That should have every single episode besides one or two from the entire catalog of Offensively Accurate. So with that, though, I appreciate you guys greatly. Deport Cash Patel, deport Pam Bondi. Christ is King. Seek first the kingdom of God. Nothing else matters. But also, at this point, just impeach the entire administration. I think there's honestly nothing I'd want more than to see Donald Trump get impeached and get shamed and humiliated and watch MAGA get mad and yell. And not Laurel Loomer, though. She's just annoying to listen to in general. But the rest of them, yes. And as always, you guys know, new policy on women. I tried fudging the bit of the numbers. I did. I asked him. I said, listen, dude, there's a lot of guys, man, that said they'd kill for $1.70. So they think the $1.50 is a little too much, and they said no, they won't budge. So, I'm trying to negotiate. I'm trying to be the peacemaker here for the negotiations. But yes, if you are a woman over 150 pounds, you are getting deported at our earliest convenience. And if you are a woman who was anywhere from 100 to 150 pounds, this is your 90-day notice to lose the weight, or you too will be shot from a cannon and sent to Israel. We're not playing anymore. We're not playing anymore. But with that, I appreciate you guys. I'm rooting for you guys. Never black pill. Never give up. We have to fight, even for the slightest percentage and fraction of a chance. We deserve that. You deserve that. Our children deserve that. And God willing, guys, we will make it one step at a time. But thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everybody, and I'll see you guys tomorrow or the next day after that. Or maybe, who knows? But until next time, take care.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out.